Welcome to the last spooky edition of the October PFF forecast. It is October 30th. This is the PFF forecast. I'm George. I've got Brad and Ben. We're going to do our regular Sunday night. We've got big takeaways, 3 big takeaways from this week. A lot of really good stuff, some not so great stuff about some of the quarterback play that we've seen, particularly from young quarterbacks. And then, of course, we're going to guess the week 9 lines. It's going to be a great podcast. Let's rock. Welcome to all of the members of the printing press. Hopefully a lot of very, very rich members of the printing press, because there was some money to be made if you listen to this podcast, both the Wednesday and Sunday night editions from last week. A lot of money to be made. I managed to participate a little bit in that. Ben, I understand you participated in it both on the NFL and college as well. So that's paying for the new frames that you've got.
I mean, somebody had to do it, right? But I do think this was one of the first weekends where I really combined like really good college betting with NFL in the same weekend. So I am kind of flying on cloud 9 right now, and I'm loving it. I might have to buy some new frames, some new hairdo, or something like that. The last week's podcast really like boosted my morale to the point where I'm feeling like $1 million, I would say, for sure. So
in case, and I'm assuming there's people that are like, what are you talking about? Someone went into the YouTube chat and said that you look like Tom Hardy, and then you won and you made a bunch of money this weekend. So like, I don't know, it's on the up and up. Brad, did you were like 5-0 on your picks from our early bets from last Sunday?
Well, I was at an all-time high for the show then, because, I'm going to knock on wood as I say this. I don't even know what it's like to lose a bet. I forget that feeling. It hasn't happened in so long. So I'm sure I'm going to go 0-10 next weekend. Terrible, but yeah. I did not lose a bet this entire weekend, which I don't remember I've ever had that happen in a weekend. So
I did lose a bet this weekend. Unfortunately, I had a decent position on the Cardinals in a couple of different places, and I had Chris Godwin over 6.5. Was one of my larger bets of the week. And he there was one throw that Brady made to Godwin, and it got tipped. He was wide open. It would have been his seventh catch. And on the final drive, they're throwing the ball to every single player on the Bucs team except for Chris Godwin. So I don't know. Maybe they just I think the best thing that happened from a Tampa Bay perspective, from a receiver on Tampa Bucks perspective, is the way that Antonio Brown said parody.
That was parody, how he said it.
Parody. It was like a combination of parody and parody. Really good. Okay, let's get into takeaways from this week. So we're going to do one big takeaway from each of us. Ben, we'll start with you. What was your big takeaway from this week?
Yeah, this is a little bit more of like a macro viewpoint, but I do think game level scoring is kind of going to be shifting more towards the over. I think we're going to see a little bit of a correction in the second half of the season. I know we've heard a lot of different reasons for why scoring is down. This sounded better than what it did before that Sunday Night Football debacle, where we didn't actually get over the total. But totals this week went 7-7 toward the over. But I think we're going to see a little bit more of a trend where we do see some higher scoring games. I think the reason why we haven't seen that so far has obviously been the quarterback play. But I think specifically quarterback play in unstable situations is the reason why, scoring overall has been down. I think because from a clean pocket perspective, it's actually tracking quite well quarterback play from prior seasons. And I think the real outlier has been quarterback play under pressure and in long down and distance situations. So I think if you kind of project out some regression to happen in those two categories specifically, we could see the overall mean of quarterback play rise a little bit. I also think, some injury situations are going to force guys that are a little bit more mobile and kind of able to handle that pressure type situation just a little bit better. And I do think that if that plays out, we're going to see overs, with the fact that the betting market is kind of, I would say, adjusting just a little bit too much probably start to hit at a more decent clip than what we've seen for the first, 7-8 weeks of this season. So I'm looking forward to it. I looked into basically, like offensive line play. I think that's kind of held steady from basically like a pass blocking and run blocking perspective. I think, rushing grades overall are at one of the highest levels they've been at in the past decade. So really, it's kind of been the pressure situation. I think that if we can alleviate that a little bit, I definitely think that overs on game totals are definitely going to be probably the spot to target, I would say, for the rest of the season.
Not just in Lions games.
Not just in Lions games, not just in Seahawks games either, not just in the Cardinals games either. But I would say, in the majority of games where we see quarterbacks that have actually been pretty good from a clean pocket, and you can go on PFF.com and kind of look at this particular stat, and it might surprise you a little bit, who our highest graded quarterbacks have been from a clean pocket. But I think kind of buying into those guys to actually progress a little bit better, I do think is going to be a pretty profitable strategy for the rest of the season.
Another profitable strategy is looking at PFF's app and seeing the matchup, the cornerback wide receiver matchup chart that's now in the PFF app. You can find it by searching PFF on the Apple iOS App Store. The highest, the biggest mismatch this entire weekend was AJ Brown against the Steelers wide receivers. Or cornerbacks, I should say. They should have been trying to play wide receiver. It did not go well for them. AJ Brown and the Eagles, one of those teams that, to your point, Ben, it does feel like there's a little bit more juice from a few more teams, right? Obviously, you have the Chiefs, right, Bills, and Eagles, who are all kind of, they're putting up points every single week. But now I think you have the Cowboys, who are starting to figure it out, you have like the Seahawks, to your point, who are a good offense with Geno Smith. I don't know. It's very, very interesting. Brad, what's your big takeaway from this week?
Yeah, I think it's time to start being legitimately worried about this 2021 quarterback class. You try to be patient. You try to let them have a decent sample size. But, everyone wanted to anoint Trevor Lawrence after a couple games early this year. Some, the more self-righteous analysts in the game, not you, putting him top 10 in their rankings and stuff like that is frankly laugh out loud funny in hindsight. The guy's not good right now. He's objectively not a good quarterback right now. They scored 17 points, but none of that on a drive over 50 yards. They did not sustain a drive the entire game. Yes, Denver is a good defense. It was in London, all that. But, 18 to 31 for 130 yards, I want to say. An awful interception on 1st and goal at the 1 yard line and just throws it right into the guy's hands for Denver. I think it was Justin Simmons. But then also, there are four of the 6 guys that are bottom 6 in quarterback grading for us right now are Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, and Mac Jones. Fields, though, top 10 over the last month, starting to play some better football, but still, the class as a whole, it's starting to be, are these guys just, as incredible as the class was supposed to be, are they maybe just not that good?
I feel like Patrick Mahomes, to a certain degree, ruined quarterback play.
Yeah. I honestly agree with that. And I agree with him and Josh Allen are such big outliers. And the fact that we got them so close together, kind of ruins our idea of how to actually evaluate quarterback play at the NFL level in a lot of ways. So,
and how I think some of these guys progress a little bit.
Right.
I watched the Jets Pats game pretty closely. And honestly, Brad, one of my considerations for a takeaway was what we witnessed on that football field from a quarterbacking perspective was perhaps the worst thing that football has ever delivered to fans. Zach Wilson was horrific, but the way he was horrific, I think, is the tough thing for people. He goes around, he runs around for 10 seconds and then throws some passes that you go, on your running around there, did you slip on a crystal meth rock and inhale it somehow? Because how could you make that throw? Afterwards, I forget who it was that tweeted this out, but it was basically they said Zach Wilson plays like Patrick Mahomes blacked out. And that, when I read that, I was like, you know what? I think a lot of quarterbacks do that. It's not just Zach Wilson, even though he's the worst example of that, but I do think to a certain degree, a lot of these quarterbacks are coming into the league now, and a lot of their bad plays happen on plays like what Patrick Mahomes does. Honestly, just makes me more appreciative of what Mahomes does, to be clear. Okay, my big takeaway from this weekend. I don't know that it probably should have been something that I had earlier on, but the Rams, the Rams are so bad. They have the worst offense on first and second down in the entire league. I mean, this is a bad year for NFL quarterback play and NFL offenses, and the worst of them then are the Rams. I mean, the Bears are better. The Panthers are better. I mean, the Panthers look so much more explosive than the Rams do right now. Right. Cooper Kupp is injured. I can't imagine what will happen to this offense. But I went and took a look. I mean, at the picks that the Rams have. I mean, the trade deadline is coming. If Cooper Kupp is injured, you have traded away so much draft capital. And you have Sean McVay. You've given him, a long-term deal, a lot of money. I think they should be sellers at the trade deadline. I mean, they are really, 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 really bad. And what's interesting to think about here in hindsight is how a dropped interception, if it weren't for, was it Jimmy Ward, Jaquiski Tartt?
It was Jaquiski Tartt, yeah.
Tartt, yeah. Who drops that interception in the NFC Championship game. If he catches that, not only am I a lot wealthier, but the Matt Stafford story has a really interesting turn, right? And we've talked about it this year where teams going all in have just been it's been terrible, right? But it's interesting. Look at the teams who caused all those other teams to go all in: the Rams and the Bucs, and both those teams suck as well. And so it's very interesting. Both those teams hit on maybe kind of black swan-ish of likelihood outcomes of winning a Super Bowl. And really, it doesn't seem to be something that's working out so well. But the Rams, my takeaway is the Rams suck. And I think we'll see that. When I was guessing the lines, I have them as an underdog at home this week. So I guess any other, as you guys are looking ahead to Monday night, and we have Browns and Bengals in Cleveland. Ben, 3.5. How are you playing this one?
Yeah, I mean, I was all in on the Bengals early on, obviously throughout the entire season, but even this week I did have them, quite a bit on some look ahead lines, some other spots at 3. So I felt pretty good with the initial move up to 3.5. Obviously that disappeared with the Jamar Chase injury, but I still think this is very much a spot where the Bengals can, take advantage of a Browns defense that I think is very overrated with the personnel that they're going to be able to put on the field here on Monday Night Football. So I'm buying into the Bengals still. I do think it's going to come a lot through, Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins. I do think that we're going to see Joe Burrow still be, continue to kind of be in this three-week type of progression where he has been really good, really accurate, can move the football downfield. I don't think they're really going to skip too much of a beat without Jamar Chase. So I'm buying into the Bengals. I'm buying into, Tyler Boyd over reception prop.
What's his
over reception prop? So we have met right now, and this is consensus line. So Tyler Boyd over 5.5 receptions plus 126. So you are getting, a pretty heavy plus price on him going over. Obviously, a lot of his targets have been, underneath low average depth of target type plays. I think we're going to see that kind of continue. I also think we're going to see T. Higgins probably win a little bit more in the intermediate and long routes. And I do think that those two guys specifically, should both, I would say, pretty easily go over their reception props here on Monday night.
Okay. All right. I have the Browns in circa millions, and need them to come through to have maintain the 60% clip. Yeah. And so we'll see. I think one question I was going to ask is, Brad, do you have any insight on the Kareem Hunt stuff?
So I was watching a couple guys today. Brandon Cooks, one of them, he did play and was pretty active, had 4 catches for them, 70-something yards. Kareem Hunt's a guy where I wouldn't put him in a fantasy lineup. I would bet his under 9.5 carries, which we already think is a massive edge regardless. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a possibility he's kind of held out or not really used to keep him healthy. I don't know anything right now, but I'm monitoring all those things for sure.
Be very interesting. I found it kind of funny that people were talking about trading for Kamara, first for Alvin Kamara when Kareem Hunt can be had for like a 4th or 5th round pick. Yeah, absolutely insane. Absolutely crazy. All right. Ben, thank you so much for hanging out with us and for rocking the Tom Hardy shades. We appreciate you. You can find Ben Brown by the way, all of his great work on PFF's app and PFF.com. Follow him at PFF_Ben Brown. I must say, the Twitter content, you have been on fire lately with, you've got animations on Twitter. It was like a year ago where Ben was nary a data viz to be seen. And now probably like one of the three best follows. There's a lot of good ones on Twitter, but you should go follow Ben Brown at PFF_Ben Brown on Twitter. Members of the printing press will benefit. Ben, thank you for hanging out with us, and we will talk to you later.
Talk to you later, guys. Have a good one.
Before we get to Arjun to guess the lines, a brief reminder, of course, to go make sure you get your PFF Plus subscription. You can get it on PFF.com, or I highly recommend PFF app, which you can find by searching, as I mentioned, PFF on the Apple iOS store. Also, a good reminder, if you are in a place that does not have legal sports betting, BroThrow, it's an exchange, and I'm an exchange, sorry, that's not doing it justice. You can go to brothrow.com and you can bet with other people against other people and get paid out without having to pay any vig. So you bet $10, you win $10. You bet $100, you win $100. And instead of the minus 110 that you see on sports books, no fees, no juice, no middleman on BroThrow. It's basically a social platform where you can bet against people, and then you get paid out either in Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Skrill, Strike, whatever it is. I can vouch for it. I've gotten paid on it multiple times. So you can't just sign up without a link, though. You need to use a link, brothrow.com/PFF, so that you can get in early. It's a new site. Go check it out, brothrow.com. Also, our friends at Underdog, even though the fantasy season is in full swing, you may kind of be out of it at this point. That's okay. Underdog has you covered. You can play in their Best Ball Mania, which, has already ended. I'm an idiot. But their Pick'em game is now live, and you can go play higher or lower and get your chance at 20xing your stakes. Go use promo code PFF at Underdog. They'll probably fine me for this incredible read that I'm doing, but you can still profit. First deposit match up to $100 with promo code PFF. All right. That was potentially the worst that I've ever done ad reads. Arjun is here, hopefully, to save us. There he is. One of the reasons that was so bad, Brad, was I was trying to open the page on my screen, and I knew broadly what it was that we were supposed to do ad reads for, but I couldn't actually find the read. So I was just kind of winging it, and then I found it, and I was like trying to get it. So we'll recover from that. Speaking of recovery, Arjun and Brad, you guys did not lose a bet that you placed last week. So congratulations. Arjun, how's your weekend going?
Doing very well. Feel like I'm on top of the world, just like Brad. Haven't lost a bet in an entire week. Michigan pulled through yesterday. Failed to cover the 22.5. Got stuck on 22, but not that I had any money on it. But still a very, very eventful weekend, and happy to talk ball right now.
So for anyone that does not know, anyone that's new, we guess the lines every single Sunday night, and then we decide whether we're going to bet on those, and we go and place our bets early, which you should as well, because that's when you can get the best numbers, of course. And we're tracking our bets, as you might. And these two guys went a combined 9-0. I went 2-1-1 according to the scoreboard, which means that I've been overtaken in the total number of wins category. Brad now has more wins than me, and I think Arjun has the best. He's 12-6 overall. So this should be a fun one. Some interesting games here. We've got Philly and Houston starting out in an effort, by the way, to make this go more efficiently. I'm going to stop calling on whose turn it is to guess lines. So we're going to go Arjun, Brad, myself, and then we will get to who is, whether you're betting it or not. So let's kick it off. Philly at Houston on Thursday night.
I have this at Eagles minus 12.5.
I have the same, and someone has to look up for me. I was trying to find it. Is this the biggest road favorite in Thursday Night Football history? I think it is, but I couldn't find it. But I also have 12.5.
Is it? I feel that it I don't think it is. I had 13.5. Houston is not very good. They could not beat Malik Willis today. So let's see. I see 13 from Jeff Sherman on at the Superbook, and I see 13.5 at BetMGM. So it appears that people think the Houston Texans do in fact stink. Arjun, what are you doing with this one?
I'm gonna go back to the well with our Eagles first half. Cash for us. It's cash for me. Personally, the past 5 weeks, it's cashed every week. I've given it out. The one pushback here is the Texans are actually not that bad in the first half. Like they do cover the first half spread a decent amount, but they also haven't played a real opponent outside of the Los Angeles Chargers and the Tennessee Titans, both of whom covered their first half spread. So I am going back to the well with our Eagles first half. I'm sure it's going to be over a touchdown, but I mean, Eagles are an absolute house, and I don't see that stopping anytime soon.
Well, the Texans play the Chicago Bears. I think you forgot to name a team there. But I love the first half play. I love the first half play as well. I think on Thursday games, you see it's a shortened playbook. It's condensed. It's more simplified. And that for me is always, I look at trench matchups. And the Eagles are going to dominate on both sides of the ball in the trenches. We'll get out to a lead like they have every week this season. I actually circled Arjun first half play was what I wrote down here. So I'm with you on that one.
By the way, the Titans were our our first quarter play from this past week. We had Philly first half, we had Vikings and Titans first quarter, and even with literally not playing a quarterback that could throw the ball, managed to at least push that one. Philly, of course, did cover in the first half this week. All right, starting the Sunday morning slate, no London game this week, thank God. Miami at Chicago. Arjun.
I have Dolphins -6.
I had Chicago +3.5.
Oh, wow. Okay, I'm going to split you guys. I had Chicago getting 4.5 here at home. I kind of was like, I mean, Miami did come from behind here to cover against the Lions. The Lions have to be a little bit better than the Bears. Bears a little spunky, though. A little spunky. It wasn't for a few unlucky plays against Dallas. They're maybe in that game. Arjun, are you going to bet Miami here?
I think I am. I think the problem, the thing I'm like just it's going over my mind is the Dolphins. I don't think are like a really like that good of a team. I think they've just dominated some really bad teams, and I think for me the Bears kind of fall into that category. Like I don't really feel that confident in Justin Fields. I thought he had he's been performing the best out of the 2021 class. Like, and Brad has mentioned, like that class hasn't been that great. But I just think the Dolphins offense at full strength right now just trumps the Bears defense, and I don't really see a way where the Bears defense is going to be able to slow down the Dolphins. So I do like the Dolphins -4.5 here.
They're not going to slow them down at all. I'm not going to make a play on the spread here, though. I love the over 45.5 because Chicago once again went over 200 yards on the ground today. They also had Jeff Fogel at Vegas Insider always tracks this, and I loved it a couple years ago. Noticed it is drive points. So you score on a 60-plus yard drive. Chicago scored 26 points today on actual sustained long-term drives. They moved the football both through the air and on the ground. Fields had 3 touchdown passes through the air, which probably is about as many as he had coming into the game, and legitimately looked good. I actually think he played a good football game. Yes, they were down a lot, but this Cowboys scored the most points of any team against Dallas all season. They also gave up 50. So I love the over 45.5 here. Miami is going to dice them up the middle, over the middle, I should say. Tyreek Hill is ridiculous. Might go for 2,000 yards, but I think Chicago also scores here.
We have a weather report here, Brad. What's the weather supposed to be like in Chicago?
I'll pull it up while you share some thoughts.
I like the over is an interesting one. I mean, this offense is dramatically different from what we saw previous or pre-long bye for Chicago. And I mean, the Bears have no one that are going to stay within 5 yards of Tyreek or Jalen Waddle. What's interesting about the Dolphins, and I wonder if this is unique to the Chiefs. The Chiefs are still a really good offense without Tyreek Hill. But like the Packers have disintegrated without Devontae Adams, and the Miami Dolphins. I mean, this offense is. I guess you want to give Mike McDaniel some credit here, and you should. But what Tyreek Hill is doing is ridiculous. He's like less than a yard per game off of Calvin Johnson's pace. Dude is absolutely insane. So I'm not going to play as I guessed. Obviously, the spread right on, but I like the over. Brad, what is the Chicago weather?
I'm not even there yet. I'm pulling up the next Sunday, but we can.
Are you looking at the? Did you get the paper? Is that what you're pulling up the?
No, I got it now. All right, so
Tribune?
it's 59 degrees, cloudy, not a lot of wind, no rain or anything like that. It's a pretty good November Chicago forecast.
Okay, there you go. All right, the Chargers, Arjun's Chargers, I should say. I'm surprised you're not wearing your Justin Herbert jersey. Going to Atlanta to play the Falcons. Arjun, would you make this?
I have this Chargers -2.
I got Atlanta plus 2.5.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm on the other side of 3, which is big. I guess I'm overcorrecting for Emmanuel Acho in his rant against Justin Herbert here. I have Atlanta getting 3.5 at home here. It looks like it is Atlanta plus 3 -115. So yeah, I think I'm closest there. Let me ask you this, Arjun. In addition to, are you going to bet this? I know that a lot of people are trouncing Acho for his takes, and there were some bad ones. But he did say something that I thought was interesting. He said, it's not just about whether on average he's throwing the ball down the football field or throwing it short. His ADOT is obviously very low. But he checks down when he should throw it deep, and when he should check down, he throws it deep. And as someone that obviously is good at teasing out nuance within data points like ADOT that are, an average data point, and actually looking at something a little bit more nuanced than that, do you feel there's any truth, if you looked at anything that shows any truth to that at all, or are you still absolving Herbert of all his sins?
No, I definitely have given him a little bit of blame for the Chargers' offensive struggles. I do think at times he tends to throw to Austin Eckler instead of throwing it to some of the other receivers running routes on the play. I think, there is some nuance to it because he is a very smart quarterback. And one of the things I've always thought he does very well is go through his progressions and be able to go back to a certain progression. But I think in this case, the Chargers, to use a better phrase, are playing with NPCs at receiver sometime. So no one's really open in this offense. And I think he knows that Austin Eckler is kind of the only guy that can make stuff happen after the catch. And that's kind of the only thing I can explain for Herbert is he just doesn't trust anyone else on this offense, especially with Keenan out. That's kind of why I made this Chargers -2. The Falcons might be getting AJ Terrell back. I think he's probably going to lock down Keenan on one side, and just from some sources, I don't think Josh Palmer is going to be playing in this game either. So you're going to be having DeAndre Carter at wide receiver 2 and Michael Bandy at wide receiver 3. Two very household names, I'm sure. So I think Acho, while he's been wrong on saying Tua is better than Herbert, I don't think he's completely wrong in saying that Herbert's been checking down too much, because I think that has been one problem he's had all year.
You betting this one at all?
I'm not betting this one. This could either if I was to bet this game, I'd be taking Chargers -5.5 and Falcons -5.5. I'd be doing the Judah special just because I don't think this is it's going to be that close like the spread is insinuating.
Arjun just dropping a real casual per sources in the middle of that. We're not going to let that slide. That was real sly there. AJ Terrell's the big one for me. If AJ Terrell plays, I think it makes a huge difference. If he doesn't, like you said, obviously Mike Williams out for a month potentially. According to your high level sources, Josh Palmer not expected to play. But if Keenan is going up against Darren Hall and whoever they have in Atlanta, PJ Walker looked pretty good today. So if that is the case, I probably would be willing to bet it. I think honestly a lot of it hinges on his health.
I see a little bit of so Arjun came out firing. 2 bets in the first 2. He's cooling off a little bit. Brad after 5-0 week is I guess you do have 1 bet. I'm looking at the sheet right now. You have over.
Half. I'll throw it in there.
Yeah, you have over. Okay, never mind. I was going to give you a hard time. Carolina at Cincinnati. PJ Walker, maybe the best throw of the season. The DJ Moore toss, and then DJ Moore making sure that they got a better draft pick so he can get a
great tank.
Yep. Phenomenal work by them. Arjun, would you make this?
I have this Bengals -9.
Ooh, I got Bengals -7.5.
All right, I'm in between you both. I have Bengals 8.5. And I honestly almost made it a little lower than that after the PJ Walker back-to-back performances. Let's see if we can find this here. It's not on BetMGM. Let's see what Sherman makes this. He has Cincinnati minus 7.5. So you're right on the money, Brad. Arjun, what are you doing with this one?
This might be a play tomorrow. I do want to see what the Bengals offense looks like without Jamar Chase. One of the things in my own podcast that I kind of touched on is how the Bengals offense does rely on explosive plays a lot. And he's, to me, the more explosive receiver outside of T. Higgins. And so if you take away that explosiveness, like how does their offense look? And so I do want to see what they look like on primetime tomorrow. If they, put up a 30 burger, this might be a play for me. But as of right now, I'm gonna lay off.
Yeah, this might sound crazy. If anything, I would lean Carolina. Deontay
same.
Foreman just needed to get the runway cleared and get McCaffrey out of town so he could truly break out as the star of the Carolina Panthers. No, but all jokes aside, I mean, I'm not a huge believer in Cincy's defense still. They're kind of figuring out their number 2 corner opposite Chidobe Awuzie. I think we're going to see a decent amount of their young rookie Cam Taylor-Britt tomorrow night. No DJ Reader, as we talked about a bunch. And Carolina's they're relatively competent. So yeah, like I love Cincy. We've played Cincy a bunch recently, but I'm still not sure they're a lay over a touchdown team. And Carolina's defense, I guess they didn't play great today, but can match up if it's just T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. I think can keep this game a little bit closer than over a touchdown.
I'm with you, even though I guessed 8.5. I think if I had to play one side of this, I'd probably play Carolina here. And, the weakness that is Cincinnati's offensive line, I'm guessing after this performance, Carolina keeps Brian Burns around. So, I don't know. I'm not going to bet this one right now, but I'm with you both. Green Bay, Detroit. In Detroit. Arjun, would you make this?
I have Packers minus 3.
I had Lions plus 3.5.
Wow. I had Lions plus 1. What was I smoking? Not sure. This looks like Green Bay minus 3.5.
Nice.
Let's see if I see it. I don't see it on BetMGM because that game just finished. So we'll call it 3.5. Arjun, what are you doing with this one?
This one's tough. I would lean Detroit here. Just because the way Detroit plays defense, it's a ton of man. They like to leave Okudah and whoever their second corner is on islands like they did today. And the thing is, the Packers just don't have receivers to take advantage of that. Like even if Lazard comes back, like I don't feel like that confident in him separating versus man. So like I think Green Bay could be in for a bad output through the air, but the Lions run defense is like really, really bad. And Aaron Jones did rush for like over 120 yards today on the ground against a pretty stout Bills run defense. So if anything, I kind of like the over in this game, but I have to think more about it, but I'm not playing a side here.
There might be 500 rushing yards in this game. Like, no joke. There might be 500 total rushing yards in this football game because the Green Bay can't really stop anyone on defense on the run defense either. Devin Singletary was running, all over the yard tonight, right out of the gate. And Detroit, moved the ball on the ground as they always do. Against Miami, who's not a great run defense either. I think it's why I like Chicago a little bit to score some points. But yeah, I kind of lean Detroit as well. I mean, this Green Bay team is just not a good football team. Getting Lazard back doesn't really matter. I don't know. A total maybe interesting play, but at the same time, if they're running so much, is it maybe kind of burning clock? But I would look if the total is under 49 points. If it's in the 47 range, I'd probably look at it. I'm glad Ben Brown mentioned that yards per play is up right now the last couple of weeks. I think offenses are catching up to defenses, as we always hear about. Defense start the year ahead, and obviously, teams play less in the preseason now. I think we are going to get some value on overs next couple of weeks because the market maybe has overcorrected to the first month of the season.
I really want to take the Lions. I really do. But my God, their defense sucks. I mean, it is really, really bad. But here's the thing. The Miami Dolphins exposed their secondary. It's your guys' point. And I don't know that Green Bay can do that against anybody. and so I'm kind of with you. I think this is a running the ball up and down the field. So I'm going to take the hook. I'm going to get my first bet on the board here. I'm going to roll with Dan Campbell and the Lions, even though I don't feel great about it. I have like a kind of sick feeling. Speaking of sick feelings, the New England Patriots host the Indianapolis Colts. Now, one of our locks of the week was the New England Patriots. They came through. It was a very good week for the locks of the week. But they did so with perhaps the worst quarterback performance to win a football game in a very long time. They now get the Indianapolis Colts and rookie quarterback Sam Ellinger. Arjun, what'd you make this?
I have Patriots -6.
Oh, I had Patriots -4.
Oh, interesting. I have a note here that says, with Bailey Zappi, I have New England -5.5. If it is Mac Jones, like, I don't even know. Like, Mac Jones is so terrible in that game. And if it wasn't for Zach Wilson, I don't know. They probably lose that game. Brad, do you have any insight into what's going to happen with Mac Jones? I mean, it was so bad.
They had 3.8 yards per play today. The Jets actually had 6.7. So like the Jets soundly outproduced them. And Mac Jones also, his worst play of the day, got called back on a penalty, which was a bogus roughing the passer. That was one of the worst throws I've ever seen, and really should not have been a penalty in my opinion. He kind of got shoved. I mean, I think it's his job until he gets hurt. Like, I think they're trying to stick with him. I know you're obviously a big Zappy Hour guy. No one loves a Zappy Hour like you, but I don't think they're going to make that move. He did look pretty awful against Chicago when he came in. So I think they're just kind of screwed at this point. It's tough.
I'm seeing 6.5, which I assume is the Bill Belichick versus a rookie QB bump. Although Ellinger, I mean, it didn't look that bad today. Arjun, what are you doing with this one?
I'm definitely laying off. I kind of got spooked by the Belichick versus scrambling quarterbacks or mobile quarterbacks, right? And Ellinger is a little bit more mobile than most. So, and yeah, 6.5 is a lot of points. Like Indy, I want to ask, like, Brad, like, do we think Reich's gonna get fired at some point? Like you kind of hit the real one on the head, right? And I mean, losing to.
It wouldn't shock me, but it'll be an end of season type of thing. Irsay doesn't strike me as a mid-season firing guy, but I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah. Also, Reich is a good dude and a good coach. Like, the way I think about it is, if you fired your coach, where would they be on the list of coaches to get hired? If Frank Reich were fired, he would be like, I would call him immediately if I needed a coach.
Carolina would call him the next day.
Yeah. So this is not about Frank Reich in my estimation. This is about a not very good roster and a bad quarterback situation. I am very tempted to take the Colts.
I'm taking them. Oh, I didn't say that. I'm taking them.
I'm riding with you. I'm taking the Colts.
Let's do it.
I'm with Frank Reich. Eric and I did coaching tiers during the offseason. I put Frank Reich in the top tier. That team is not very good. Okay. They are not very good. And Matt Ryan, a complete statue back there. I do not blame Frank Reich. 6.5 with Mac Jones is too many points.
Way too many. And the Colts defense is better than the Patriots defense. I mean, the Patriots have played decently well recently, but Zach Wilson's obviously atrocious. It's really not that good of a defense. They're not going to be able to take advantage of this somehow bad Colts offensive line. They don't really have great pass rushers. Michael Pittman, I think, can do well against Jack Jones and whoever they have in the back end. I feel good about this bet for some reason.
We feel good about this, and then we're going to be like, wow, we have Sam Ellinger in his second start ever in the NFL against Bill Belichick. He's 2 for 13 with 3 interceptions and face in our hands. The thing that I did want to bring up here, this is almost my takeaway of the day after this week, was it was so beautiful the couple of months we had where the New England Patriots won the offseason. Do you remember that? Are you guys old enough to remember that? It was just so beautiful while it lasted. They had 2 great tight ends who obviously have ascended into the top of the tight end pantheon in Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. Just amazing what they have been able to accomplish with that one offseason. I'm being sarcastic. Obviously, did not do a whole lot for them. What I do think is really interesting is a lot of teams and a lot of fan bases get very excited about big moves that are around the quarterback. And then when the quarterback plays decently well, like Mac Jones did at the start of last season, they go, oh, wow, those moves were great. And what it really comes down to is a lot of these moves only matter if you have a good quarterback. And if you spend a lot of money when you don't know about your quarterback, that can come back to bite you. And I think it has with the New England Patriots, whose team really, really stinks, especially when Mac Jones is not very good. Which moves us gracefully into the Jets game, where they are hosting the Buffalo Bills. It turns out that Breece Hall was the key. Without him, Zach Wilson, even worse than he was previously. And they are hosting now the Buffalo Bills. Arjun, would you make this?
I made this Bills -14.
Wow. Road 14er. Okay, we're gonna be a little different. I had the Jets +7.5 at home. I guess
Oh my God.
One of us is way off.
Oh my God. What? I thought I was going to be light on this. I have Buffalo by 12.5.
Wow.
I'm seeing 11.5 from Jeff Sherman.
Look at me.
Arjun, you betting this one?
Of course, going with the Bills here. I mean, Zach Wilson is something else, and I mean the Bills shut down Aaron Rodgers for 3/4 of this game, and yeah, they kind of let him back in, but like I just don't think Zach Wilson is very good. This Bills defensive line is elite. Like they're not going to allow Michael Carter or James Robinson to get anything going on the ground. Elijah Vera Tucker's out, right? So Greg Rousseau, Von Miller, they're going to have a field day. We might be getting Tre'Davious White back. I'm probably not sure about that, but that would definitely be a huge boost to this. But I mean, yeah, I think Bills -14 or Bills -11.5 is going to be a play for me.
Is there any chance that we get Flacco in this game?
They should. I mean, the thing is, they're a good football team outside of Zach Wilson.
Right.
It's tough. Like, he wasn't even active today, though, so I don't know what was going on. They had a bizarre situation. I know this has nothing to do with our show, but like they activated Chris Streveler, they elevated him from the practice squad, and then made him inactive. So they basically just paid him to come up and hang out on the sideline, which like doesn't happen. And Joe Flacco was also holding a clipboard and not dressed. I don't know. So, I mean, they probably should play Joe Flacco as much as you need to see Zach Wilson. I obviously was way off on this spread. I'm not taking the Jets, even though I'm way off on it, just because I mean Wilson under pressure is as bad as it gets, and like you said, I mean the Bills are freaks. Rousseau had some cleanups tonight, but he's a force. Like he's becoming a really good player. Some of them are kind of unblocked, like I said, but he looks really good. Long answer short, I'm staying away because I guess I was short on it, but yeah, I'm not taking the Jets.
The only reason I would hesitate is if Flacco somehow plays, because he's not as terrible as Zach Wilson. But I think if they bench Wilson now, like I think they got to give him a little more run. If they bench him now, that dude is going to be destroyed. I think you got to ride with him, which means I'm taking the Buffalo Bills. We move now to our nation's capital, the Washington Commanders and Taylor Heineke. That game was one of the worst, good, enjoyable games because of the way that it ended, but it was tough to watch. The last second, I think they had 38 seconds or so and drove almost the length of the field. Terry McLaurin with another incredible game-winning catch. They host the Minnesota Vikings. Arjun, would you guess this?
I had Vikings -4.
I had Washington +3.5.
Okay, I have Washington plus a flat 3. Let's see here. Jeff Sherman has it at 3, and it is 3 -115. So shaded a little bit towards the Vikings. Arjun, are you going to bet this?
Yeah, I'm not going to bet the full game. I'm going back to the derivative first quarter bet. We rode the Vikings first quarter this weekend, cashed against the Cardinals. The Vikings are above average in EPA or whatever metric you want to use to look at scripted plays. Washington is bottom 5 in EPA or drive quality or whatever metric you want to use. Going to take advantage of that. And, I don't really have any faith in Taylor Heineke that he's going to do anything special. I do like the full game spread a lot, actually, or not a lot, but like I do like the full game spread, but I do think the first quarter is the better play for me.
I'm probably going to take the Commanders here. I can't believe I'm betting on. I watched Ellinger versus Heineke. Maybe I fell in love with. There's bad quarterbacks and there's fun bad, and both these guys are YOLO ball guys. They kind of they keep you enticed. I'm probably taking it because we talked about Kirk Cousins with the interior pressure. I know we didn't cash in our Cardinals bet, but we saw a lot of that. J.J. Watt had 2 sacks. He was really struggling with a lot of that interior pressure all day. If not for that muff punt, we may have cashed on those Cardinals bets. So I think we saw a lot of the right things there. Washington has good tackle play. They do well against Darius Smith and Danielle Hunter. I like the matchup. I'm going to go, even though it's Kirk Cousins' revenge game, I'm going to take Washington in the points.
Taylor Heineke buys a pair of Jordans in the color of the team that he beats after he beats them. So I don't know how that plays into this, but I am going to ride with Arjun here. What KOC Kevin O'Connell has done in Minnesota has really helped their offense get off to good starts. And they did it again this week. Obviously, we cashed that bet. And Washington basically just waits until they're down by, a certain amount. And then Taylor Heineke, to your point, just plays complete YOLO ball. So I like this one quite a bit. So I'm riding with Vikings first quarter. And now, after starting off not betting any of the first 4 games, I have bet the last 4. So
there you go.
Get the streak going. Vikings, Jags. Oh my God, what an incredible game this is. Raiders, Jags. I think I said Vikings there. Raiders, Jags. Shout out to you, Brad. You had the Saints as one of our locks of the week, and there were a ton of Saints injuries. In fact, the Raiders were a consensus pick in Circa Millions and put up a nice donut. They'll look to try and get back on track against the amazing Jacksonville Jaguars. Do we owe Urban Meyer an apology here in any way, shape, or form? Because the Jags were not good today.
Yeah, I think I don't know. The Lawrence stuff is just weird. I thought after first couple of good games he would continue that, but it's just been he's looked really bad. The accuracy's been bad. The fact that he couldn't even drive down the field twice at the end of the game was just sad, and throwing a pick at the one is just awful. But that being said, I do have the Jaguars favored in this game. I have them Jaguars -2.
Yeah, I agree with all you said. I have Jags -1. So
I have this as a pick, but these teams both stink. And
by the way, George, you mentioned teams spending a ton of money. The Jaguars spent the most money in free agency. Raiders were 5th, and they're now 2-6 heading into this game.
Yeah, but they got to hang that banner.
The banner was hung. The banner was hung.
It's amazing because the Raiders spent so much on that pass rush, and the pass rush isn't even good. This is Raiders -1.5. And by the way, I shouldn't sound that surprised. So a pet peeve, I'm stealing a Seth Galina segment here. People referencing line movement when it does not cross a key number is just so I don't want to be a betting snob, like a coffee snob, where you're like, this is terrible coffee, whatever. But if it crosses 0, it's not that big of a deal. Games do not end in 0. That does not really matter. And games also don't often end with a differential of 1. So going from -1 to +1 or -2 to +2 even is just not that big of a deal. And neither is this. Raiders -1.5. Are you betting this, Arjun?
Yep, definitely I'm taking the Jags here. The Jaguars just show up well in like every efficiency metric. Like they're 14th in defensive EPA. They're 11th in offensive EPA. The Raiders offense, they just put up a nothing burger against the Saints, who had allowed 28 points in 4 straight weeks. I know I'm kind of off the Lawrence train, but I have to figure he's going to get back on track at some point. Travis Etienne, though, looked amazing. And the one thing that the Raiders got killed by today was Alvin Kamara. 3 total touchdowns, like 90 receiving yards. Etienne can do it all. And I think he's, he might be one of the better backs in the NFL at the end of the season. I do like the Jaguars to take control of the spot. And I'm not sure if there's a Derek Carr in the East Coast metric or thing we can look at, but he's always due for one bad East Coast game a year. It might have been this game versus the Saints, but I think it could continue next week in Jacksonville.
It was in New York against the Jets last year, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and then the Giants the year before that, Atlanta at some point in the last 3 years. Like it is a thing. I just don't know the exact numbers on him.
The Raiders had 183 total yards today. Devontae Adams with no Marshawn Lattimore had
He
one
was sick all week
for 3 yards, bro. How does that even happen? Alontae Taylor, the rookie out of Tennessee, was talking smack to Devontae Adams and backing it up the entire game. It was crazy. I'm going to tease the Jaguars with the next game. I just looked at what it was, so I'm not taking them by themselves, but I'm teasing them up to 7.5 with a side in the Seattle-Arizona game. The Raiders are a bad football team, and I think the reason why I loved the Saints coming into this game, beyond some narrative stuff and just not liking this where the spread was, it's trenches. The Raiders went all in and have an awful pass protecting offensive line. Imagine going all in and not protecting your mediocre quarterback. It makes no sense. And Derek Carr is just not good. So like I said, the Jaguars are pretty good in the trenches, pretty good defensive line. They can generate a pass rush. Their tackles are pretty good as well. They can handle Crosby and Chandler Jones. Not a good signing to a degree. And so I'm going to tease them with team in the next matchup.
Yeah, I'm here for the teaser. The Seattle Seahawks, first place in the NFC West, playing somehow they beat the vaunted New York Giants. Who could have seen that one coming? In Arizona to play the Cardinals. Arjun, would you make this?
I made this a pick.
Wow.
Yeah.
I got Arizona minus 1.5.
I have Arizona minus 2.5. That is what it is. And it is teasable, which is fantastic. Arjun, what are you doing with this one?
I love what Brad was saying. I think a full game teaser with the Cards is the right play here. I just the Cardinals just baffle me. They lost today because of the muffed punt. But still, there's just some weird vibes that I get from them. Kyler Murray and Hopkins didn't really turn it up until the second half. I think I'm gonna go back to a play we cashed on this exact game 3 weeks ago. Seahawks first half, the spread. We're going to get that at plus 0.5, plus 1. Seahawks, I think are top 5 in offensive EPA in the first half. I think they're about 6-1, 7-0 against the spread in the first half. A lot of signs pointing towards the Seahawks being good. Geno Smith has looked great again today against a blitz heavy team, which is what the Cardinals are. So I am going to back them in the first half just because Kyler Murray does turn it up a little bit in the second half of games.
Yep. So I'll have Jaguars plus 7.5, Seahawks plus 8.5 teaser. Arizona's just not going to cover 8 points against anyone. They did play well today. To their credit, they did some nice play. DeAndre Hopkins is obviously a difference maker. We also know our part that we nailed in that game in the slot. Whoever he faced, it was Harrison Smith, it was Shannon Sullivan. It also wasn't even DeAndre Hopkins. Rondale Moore also went off. So we did see a lot of things right there. But nevertheless, they're not going to cover 8.5 points, I don't think, against Seattle. So I kind of love that teaser.
Yeah, the muff punt was brutal. We were on our way to hitting that one. Rams. Before I get to that, I'm going to join you on the teaser as well. Jacksonville out to plus 7.5 at home, and Seattle out to plus 8.5 on the road in Arizona. Rams Bucks. By the way, there are only 2 afternoon or late slate games as of now: Seattle, Arizona, and Rams Bucks. And who would have guessed? But Seattle, Arizona, by far the more compelling of these 2 matchups. Rams Bucks, a rematch of the NFC Championship game. It pits 2 bottom 5 offenses now against one another. Arjun, what'd you guess on this one?
I have Rams plus 3.
I had Bucks minus 1.5.
Okay. I have Bucks minus 2.5. Although I was with you, Arjun. I have it 2.5 with a with juice on the Tampa Bay side because I think it should get out to 3. at some point here. And let's see what it is. BetMGM, yeah, they have -2.5, -115. So no, I'm not making the lines for BetMGM. But Arjun, are you betting this one?
I'm not betting this one. I just can't lay money on Tom Brady right now. And I'm definitely not betting the Rams after that performance they had today.
Mm-hmm.
This offense is just in shambles. This defense is just so top heavy, and we're kind of seeing the detrimental effects of the roster building strategies they employed last year. So definitely staying away from this game, and just it might be me studying for exams during this game. I'm not gonna lie.
It's the total is 42.5.
Which is crazy too, because like the point I was about to make was like I think people still view the Bucs as this vaunted defense, which they just aren't at this point.
No.
And you lose Shaq Barrett for the season, on Thursday against Baltimore. It's like Joe Tryon-Shoyinka is decent, but he's like the only guy that can generate a pass rush, and he's still kind of a young player, a second-year guy that skipped his last year of college. Like him being your number one guy off the edge is not going to do you, a lot of solids. So, but I also can't bet the Rams in this game. I'm staying away, like you said. I mean, I'm going to watch it, but it's crazy how bad this game is going to be compared to what we probably thought coming into the season.
I would like the Rams here as a teaser leg, but no Cooper Kupp potentially, or a banged up Cooper Kupp would really worry me quite a bit here. I mean, this would be a good matchup. This was a good matchup. We talked about this last year, which is Todd Bowles blitzes a ton, and that's where Matt Stafford really shines. The problem for Matt Stafford this year has been the O-line stinks to high heavens, so he doesn't really have a chance to shine in these situations. So I'm laying off as well. I just think it's absolutely comedic that this total is 42.5. I think if I had to bet any part of this game, I would bet over. Sunday night, Tennessee. I'm guessing, Brad, with Tannehill back. Is that the?
I think so. They ended up saying he was out today more with the illness than with an ankle. I don't know if that was whatever, but anyway, I think he should play in this game. Yeah.
Yeah. In Kansas City to play the Chiefs, coming off of a bye. Arjun.
I have Chiefs -10.
Same here.
All right. I am a little shorter than you guys. I had 9.5. Didn't quite get all the way to 10. And you guys were even short. It is -10.5, -115 here. I wonder if any of that has to do with the Ryan Tannehill thing. Arjun, are you going to bet Tennessee?
I don't think so. I mean, yeah, there's just uncertainty with Tannehill and Malik Willis, and I mean, let's put it this way: Andy Reid off a bye. Like, I mean, this could just be a complete demolition for the Titans. But then again, like, I don't know, the Chiefs, their defense isn't that great. Derrick Henry did just shred this Texans defense, and it's not like the Chiefs' run defense is particularly strong up the middle. But yeah, I think 10.5 is a lot of points to lay, and I'm just going to stay away from this one.
Derrick Henry note: 4 straight games against the Texans with 200 rushing yards is a ridiculous stat. Like, I know it's Derrick Henry versus the Texans, but to go 4 straight over 200, I saw that and I was this cannot be a real stat. I honestly might lay the Chiefs here, lay the points of the Chiefs here. The best player for the Tennessee Titans by a country mile is Jeffrey Simmons. The Kansas City Chiefs have the best interior offensive line in the NFL. I mean, if anyone can handle him, it's Creed Humphrey, Joe Thuney, and Trey Smith. And they're just, I know they're 5-2, but they are one of the worst 5-2 football teams I think I've ever seen. They just have no receivers. And so, yes, like Derrick Henry could run the ball, and maybe that makes you a little bit scared to lay that many points. But I mean, I could see Kansas City hanging 40 in this game. Kind of a game where, they've played in the playoffs. Kansas City probably has reason to hate them. There's been some, kind of some bad blood there. I might do it. I might lay that many points with Kansas City.
Do it. I total of 46.5. I don't love Tennessee's offense, but I don't know. I mean, they're good on scripted plays. Maybe they get out and score a few points in the first quarter, and then Tennessee or Kansas City puts 30 up. I get on board with that.
Yeah, I'm doing it.
There you go. Baltimore, New Orleans on Monday Night Football. Arjun.
I made this Ravens minus 3.5.
Wow.
I got New Orleans +2.
Wow. I don't know where I have been. I have New Orleans +1.5. And the market agrees with you guys. Baltimore right now, -3, -115. So I guess the market is just like, hey, the Raiders suck. The Raiders really, really stink. Is New Orleans not going to get any of those guys back?
I think Lattimore has to be back. I
Right.
mean, I know I said last week he was supposed to play. I thought he was going to. I can't obviously predict a week out, but he was trending that way, did not play. I think he'll be active. Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry, I have no clue. Just real quick, random note. They both now missed more than 4 games. I don't know why either guy didn't go on IR, which maybe New Orleans doesn't have the money for, or what the deal is. But anyway, rant over there. But maybe the Ravens getting extra rest is why it's up to 3, but that's a little fishy, I think.
Yeah, it's a lot. Arjun, you I guess have the same idea because you had this at 3.5. What's your thought?
I thought I was going to be short on this, actually. I thought it'd be like -4, but I think the Saints are a very good matchup for the Ravens. We saw Bateman and Andrews leave Thursday Night Football with injuries. That could be huge. Just because, like, first of all, Demario Davis and Pete Werner might be the best linebacking duo in the league right now. Davis currently ranks second in PFF grade. Werner ranks in the low 20s, but Demario Davis is playing some of the best ball of his life, and he's a very good QB spy. So that's something you're going to need against Lamar Jackson. He has, as a linebacker, as a coverage linebacker, he still has 6 sacks on this year, and they love to use him in those type of simulated pressures, those mugged looks. And those are things that Lamar struggled with in the past just because he doesn't have a receiver, like a go-to receiver. If Bateman and Andrews are both out, or even if just Bateman is out, I kind of like the Saints in this game at home. But I think right now it's tough to lay it with the Saints just because they're just so volatile week over week.
They were so good to me. I mean, I like them a lot, but I didn't think they were going to have a 24-0, absolute blowout. I'm not going to get greedy. I'm not going to play them again. It might just be me trying to avoid voodoo. But I love them +3. I think that spread is wrong.
I'm with you. The thing is, it's juiced towards the Ravens, so you could see us getting to 3.5. I mean, if it gets to 3.5, I would absolutely. I would play the Saints at 3 if it were, if I didn't think it was moving. It does look like it is going to move, so I would try and wait for a 3.5. But I'm just going to put it down because we only record the podcast twice a week, so we got to give the people what they want.
They're marching, George. They're marching.
They're marching. So I'm rolling with the Saints here. Baltimore is a really good team, but they're not a great team. And in today's NFL, it's like there are a couple great teams, and then every other team is like some variation of good. And wait, hold on. I'm sorry. I forgot something. I'm not betting on Andy Dalton in primetime. I'm not going to do it.
Red Rifle?
That is what this is. Okay? I can't believe it took me this long to figure out why this was 3. Okay. I want nothing to do with Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton has played well, legitimately well, has graded really well. There's a reason that Jameis Winston is on the bench. By the way, let me fix the Jets real quick. Go trade for Jameis Winston.
I thought you were going to say Andy Dalton.
Oh, either one. I would rather have Jameis. I mean, I think Jameis, there's still a chance that you've got a guy that could be a top 10, 12 quarterback for a season. But yeah, I can't do it. I've already bet against Dalton in prime time. It's done well for me. I'm out.
The Ravens know him very well too. They played him twice a year for about a decade. So that's fair.
True. We got a nice set of bets here. Let's see, Arjun, you've got 6, it looks like. We've got a teaser out here as well. So hopefully the good juju maintains for this week. Arjun, Brad, are there bets that of the ones that we kind of called out that you like the most so far?
I mean, Arjun, your Eagles first half, like it's funny you said it because it was the first thing I wrote down. So I love that one for next week. Or Thursday.
That's a system play for me at this point. I also like the Vikings first quarter against the Commanders. You can take that first half as well, but I think first quarter is better, and you're probably going to get some juicy odds for that as well.
Both of those are great. I love our teaser, Brad, with Jacksonville and Seattle. I think Seattle's been my most profitable side of any team so far this year. In Pete Carroll, I trust. And by the way, we should end the podcast with this, which is Russell Wilson manages to win a game in London. He's on the plane ride home, probably doing, high knees. Maybe he's swimming laps down the aisle on the plane and getting buried by his former team after the game. I think Tyler Lockett said it's just great, or it's great when no one cares about who gets the credit. Ostensibly a huge shot at Russ, which is just incredible. But it looks like so the Broncos now are going to be buyers at the trade deadline, Brad.
Yes. Speaking of, the one thing I wanted to mention, just the one when we were talking about the Rams against the Bucks, the Rams are going to buy someone. Like, they're addicted to spending. They have like retail therapy when they get smacked by the Shanahan 49ers. So that was one where I was like, am I betting on Brandon Cooks becoming a 49er or a Ram in the next couple of days? But yeah, no, Denver, I think if they're smart, they're still probably selling off some small parts.
With the Rams, especially with Kupp getting injured, that has to increase the chances. I would have said that after playing the Niners, who outbid them for McCaffrey, there was no doubt that they were going to go spend for a running back. But without Kupp, it feels like Cooks would make a ton of sense. And
you say he avoided disaster, so it's not like a season-ending injury, but it's still probably one where he maybe misses a game. If not, like you said, he's not 100%. I think it raises the odds Cooks gets moved there. My understanding is it's more about, first, the Rams have a stronger package than Green Bay so far. And then I saw the Giants and the Vikings get mentioned. I don't know. I don't buy those teams all of a sudden becoming buyers. Maybe I'm wrong. So I think it's the Rams' race to lose. And it's more about the contract. Figuring out he has a fully guaranteed $18 million salary for next year, 2023. They're trying to work around that. I think they'll figure it out. So, like I said, it's one move that I'm not expecting, but it's top of the list of if I had to bet which move gets done, it's probably that one. Any
others that are close to it?
I mean, Pittsburgh losing again today makes me think they're going to sit down and be realistic with themselves about Chase Claypool. Apparently they've been so stingy. My understanding is some people have said second round pick. What I was told was a third round pick, maybe end of day 3, would get it done. And as much as I'm a fan of the Green Bay approach and being frugal and all that, if they don't trade a third-round pick for Chase Claypool and try to salvage this season, what was the point of bringing back Aaron Rodgers and Devondre Campbell and Rasul? Like, why do all of that if you're not going to make a move for a rookie contract, good receiver for a third-round pick? So that's just my thoughts, though.
Why does Claypool make any sense for the Packers?
They just need more bodies, man. They just need someone who can catch and rush.
I guess, but it just feels like they need someone who can separate a little bit. I would think Cooks makes more sense there.
I was told their package is just not as strong. Their offer for Cooks, I don't think they want to spend the money. Whereas Claypool's the rookie contract. I think that's the big differentiator.
Someone's going to make a list tomorrow. All the receivers that the Packers have passed up in the first and second round, and it's going to be pretty glorious. But I'll say this: Josiah DeGuara and AJ Dillon look amazing back there, so you can't really fault them for that. And Najee Harris, former first-round pick, it looks amazing as well. He has resurrected the Pittsburgh franchise. Poor guy. That's our show. We'll be back on Wednesday night, of course, to get some live betting going with Judah and pick our lock of the week. Thank you, fellas, for hanging out. Members of the printing press, we love you. Have a great Monday.